Hi guys, I'm welcomed by Georgia Allen, current Ipswich Town player, former under-21 England and Arsenal player. Just got a few questions for Georgia, and hopefully she can give you some bits to take on your process and your learning and your journey to a better football career. So it's quite an impressive CV.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
What's your first memory?
Playing football. Okay, so I have two. One obviously on the pitch, and then one actually at home. My first real memory of kicking a football in our living room, which my mum was thrilled about. We used to have like a brick wall instead of a fireplace. It was a brick wall, and like halfway up the wall there was like two holes. I mean, maybe the size of that. And I just remember trying to chip the ball into the hole and just repetitively kicking it, left foot, right foot, just trying to hit the hole as many times as I can. And my dad used to obviously like coach me and on the technique and stuff like that. So that's the first time I can really remember, taking something very seriously, kicking a ball. And then my main memory about playing a game was I used to play at Seabrook Wood just there, and I used to play with the boys. I was the only girl on the team, and I was quite self-conscious because obviously the boys were quite rowdy, but my teammates accepted me. But I do remember, playing, and a couple of the parents being like, "Why is a girl playing?" and hearing those sorts of comments, but thinking, you know what, they're my friends. I just like playing football. It doesn't matter that I'm a girl. It doesn't matter that this is a boys' team. And I kind of tried to ignore that, but I just loved playing football, and despite hearing, comments that maybe I shouldn't be playing, I was like, no, I'm just here, loving it just like everybody else. So, a good memory, but also a little bit of a, right, this is how your journey's probably going to go. This is probably sort of the things you're going to encounter. And it's up to you whether you want to listen to those things and let them stop you, or you want to push on harder and show the reason why you should be playing football. So yeah, those are my two memories.
Shows you how far the game's come, and there's still that.
Yeah.
When the girls play with the boys, what's she doing here? But there are more than one girl now.
Yes.
Joining teams.
Yes.
So it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to say normal, but it is. Becoming a lot more. Normal for people to accepted.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously there's so much more girls.
Yeah.
Teams.
Which is so great to see.
What was so obviously you've gone from playing for Seabrook Wood.
Yes.
When did you go to join a girls setup?
Okay, so I was 6 years old. I was at Seabrook Wood at a tournament, and we lost out. And I believe it was in the semi-finals. I was crying my eyes out, and my mum picked me up, and she was carrying me off the pitch. And there was an Ipswich Town scout there, and he came up to my parents and was like, "We'd like to speak with you and your daughter." And at the time, I was just devastated that we lost. I didn't really get the, the idea. Yeah, oh, definitely, it's got worse. I still cry about it. So yeah, an Ipswich Town scout came and spoke to us, and just because I was the only girl in our area kind of playing, we didn't really get the gravity of the situation of playing for a centre of excellence. So I went and did a trial. So yeah, I started off at Ipswich when I was 6 years old, but I carried on playing, with the boys team. I played for Bury Town, and obviously kept playing at school. So, but that was my first foray, and then I, turning up and seeing, 10, 15 girls just like me, loved football. I had a female coach, Claire Jones, who still supports me today, and that's kind of where my journey started. And I was like, wow, there's girls here, and we all love playing football, and they were really talented girls, in the 6, 7, 8-year-olds running around and absolutely, owning it and loving it as much as me, and I found my people. So it was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, so obviously you were at Ipswich Centre of Excellence, yeah?
Yes.
When was it that you left there to go to Arsenal, and how did that kind of come around?
So I had no intention of leaving Ipswich. I was very, very happy there. And then the FA did a shuffle, and they decided that they wanted, I believe, to halve the amount of centre of excellences in the country to raise the level, basically. And Ipswich, unfortunately, were cut. They lost their licence. So at 12 years old, I was kind of left thinking, oh, my life. what am I going to do? I remember the process so clearly, like it was yesterday, and I couldn't imagine playing for another club. So I trialled at Norwich, I trialled at Cambridge, I trialled at Arsenal, not thinking anything. I mean, I was just like, I just hoped somewhere someone's going to take me so I can carry on playing. And I got a trial at Arsenal, and I believe it was on the Monday. And if you got through, you had to come back on the Wednesday. And then I think if you got through, you had to come back on the Friday. And I remember getting through each day and thinking, wow, it's not going to happen. It's Arsenal. Like, it's ridiculous. And then I just kept getting through each step. And then I remember I trialled, I believe it was on the Friday. And then the following Monday, I was in one of my classes, and one of my teachers pulled me out of one of my classes, and I was a good student. I was a little bit like, oh no, what have I done, sort of thing, and pulled me out and said, you've got through. You're in the Arsenal squad. You're in the Arsenal under-15s. I was like, what has happened? Like, you know, Bury St Edmunds, Morton Hall. You know, we thought a long drive was to Ipswich, and now I was going to have to go to London Colney. There's, you know, a lot of pressure on my parents, bless them, but they supported me completely. It was a complete surprise, but it really changed the course of my football, and that was the same year that I had my first England camp as well. So it went from doing it just because I loved it to doing it and thinking, wow, I could really do something with this here, and having people like Arsenal believe in me. That was beyond crazy.
Was that kind of obviously you said the love of the game was always there?
Yeah.
But the wanting to go and achieve the best you could be,
yeah.
Did it kind of start at Arsenal just because it's, when you're there, you just see the size and enormity of it?
Oh, for sure. I feel that when I got to Arsenal, it just opened up the world to me in a way. I always just kind of, I had maybe a bit of blinkers on. I was just like, oh wow, Ipswich, and it was amazing. It gave me the best foundation. But I didn't think further than, oh, we've got training on Wednesday. That's great. And I get to Arsenal, and there's these girls in England, and these girls, you know, who are pushing up on the age groups, and you know, these coaches, and that are just the best coaches I've ever experienced in my life, and the setup and the professionalism that's expected of you. It's not just, oh, can you kick a ball? It's, can you jump? Can you turn? Are you an athlete? You know, it was all these other aspects that I'd never really considered before. And how you carry yourself, how do you speak to a coach, how do you interact with your teammates, are you a leader? All these other aspects that make a professional footballer were introduced to me then, and that's when I thought, ooh, okay, I could maybe have a shot at doing this if I, you know. But it was also another step up in terms of having to work hard. It was another level of commitment that I'd never experienced before, and you know, it set a tone for me early on. You know, I was a 12, 13-year-old having to travel to London and, you know, start England camps, and that required a level of maturity and stuff like that, and that really, you know, pushed me to the next level. And at a young age, I think that was really good for me. I had to, you know, figure out how I was going to complete my schoolwork and balance playing football at the same time. So, you know, a brilliant experience at a young age.
You've said there that it really opened your eyes that you needed to be a good player, but you needed so much more.
Oh yeah.
Is there kind of a lesson, maybe being with Arsenal, you kind of learn in terms of that personal side of that kind of psychological side of the game and managing yourself that you kind of took away?
Yeah, for sure. I think the main thing for me was that at a young age, like, you rely on a lot of the adults around you. And going to Arsenal, I had coaches telling me multiple things that were wrong with my game, multiple things that needed to be improved, multiple things of my physical attributes that I needed to change. I need to get stronger, I need to get fitter, and there was all those sorts of things that were told that are not good enough yet. And it was up to me. I had the support network, and they definitely gave me the tools to get better, but it was up to me whether I wanted to make those changes. And so I just think that accountability for myself, and not saying, well, I don't have the coach to do it, I don't have the time to do it. If I didn't do it, then it didn't happen. I couldn't rely on my parents to do it, and I think that was a definite shift into being accountable for you as a player.
I think that's massive, isn't it? Being accountable for whether you're playing for Arsenal, whether you're playing for Dublin United on a Sunday, you've got to take accountability to if you want to win the game, if you want to be the best. It's down to you at the end of the day, isn't it?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
It's really interesting.
Georgia Allen came in stoppage time. Lo Marley did not make a change for the first 90 minutes. A minute into stoppage time, she brought on Georgia Allen and Rinsola Babajide. And Georgia Allen will take a massive penalty to start the 5th round.
This is what you dream of when you're a kid out on the playground. World Cup final, you stepping up in the 5th position with the chance to win it for your team.
It's 3-3. And here it is, and it's into the corner, and that will do it. England winning in penalties 4-2. England, Georgia Allen does it. They win the 3rd place match.
And obviously you touched on playing for England, the kind of pinnacle of any sport, playing, representing your country.
Yeah.
What was there a difference going from training with obviously the Arsenal side to then going with the best players in the country and playing against, of course, the best players in the world when you play against other teams?
Yeah, for sure. My biggest challenges in football have been playing for England. I remember my first camps, we used to do week-long, we'd do 7 days away, like Loughborough, and we used to do 2 or 3 sessions a day for 7 days. And I remember finishing those camps, getting in the car and just being absolutely exhausted, being absolutely, like I would just fall asleep immediately because mentally and physically you had to be switched on 24 hours a day for 7 days a week. And the scrutiny that you put under, the expectations that are there, like you say, the best players in the country, you know, and you're used to coming, you used to go in, you know, back at your clubs, and you know there was a jovial aspect of it because you know you were there for a long season, you had to have time to gel as a team or whatever, and you used to have to come into camp and be focused. I remember one of my first camps, I was told to make sure that I was the one to pick my bag up out of the car. Don't let my parents do it because they're watching you. They're watching you get out of the car and they're wondering whether you rely on your parents to pick up after you, to bring things for you, or are you going to be the player that takes their bag, walks themselves into the locker room or into the meeting room and have that air of confidence. And at 15, I probably didn't have that confidence, you know, but what you had to do was put a face on and build that confidence. You know what? Inside I'm shaking and I'm not feeling too great about this, but I've got to pick myself up and I'll walk myself in this room because I've got to prove that I'm one of the best players in this country, even if I don't particularly believe it myself. But, you know, being in those environments, being with the best players, pushes you and it drives you, and you've got that competitive edge and you're like, okay, can I compete with the best? You know, so many lessons learned, you know, ups and downs with England, and you know, it's not all fun and games. It's working hard, and then once you end the camp, they say, right, it's up to you now whether you take that work ethic. If you take those standards and then you take them back to your club, that's up to you, because you can easily go back to your club and go, I relax now. Well, no, once you know that standard is there, you better meet that standard every training session that you've got. And I think that's really important. That's what I learnt young. You can't take a day off, you can't take a session off. Once you've set your standards, you've got to strive for them each day. And I'm not saying you'll be perfect every day, you know, that's not a thing, and you'll have ups and downs in your training, but as long as inside your head you're thinking, right, was that touch good enough? Was that pass as straight as it could be? Was that pass as driven as it could be? As long as you're thinking those things, then you're going to head in the right direction.
It's really interesting because you talk about high standards, and it's not just on the game day.
Oh no.
It's getting your bag out of the car. It's setting that precedence.
Yes. Yeah.
From, you know, as soon as you arrive,
Yeah.
whether it's a training session, a match, you have to stick by it and keep to it. It's just really interesting that, I mean, how many people perhaps, you know, think they are putting in a higher standard because they're working out of the match day, and really are they doing their bit outside the game? It's interesting that you said it like that. And now you've how those are the kind of takeaways
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
that probably are underlooked
Yes.
and undervalued.
Yeah.
The last bit I wanted to sort of get into was America.
Okay. Cool.
I've already heard you say locker room.
It's ingrained. It's ingrained now.
Was that always the plan?
Oh no, not at all. My parents always emphasised education for me and my sister. That was priority. But I don't think they realised how much that football would be such a big part of my life, and obviously their life as well, whether they wanted it or not. No, they did want it. But so when it came to looking at university and looking at the setup in this country 4 or 5 years ago, and then looking at a setup in America, it was kind of a no-brainer. I didn't want to sacrifice football, and I also didn't want to sacrifice my education. And if I wanted to do those both simultaneously, America was the best route for me, and it didn't require me to sacrifice anything. I didn't expect to be 3,000 miles away from home. I didn't expect, to be playing. I did my first year at Tennessee, and then I transferred. I didn't have plans on transferring anywhere. My parents dropped me off in Tennessee, and I thought that was when I was going to spend the next 4 years of my life. And things changed, and I transferred, and it was such a big moment in my life, and I'll always be grateful for that opportunity. It changed everything for me as a person and a player. But to come away with a degree and then having 4 years in the top flight of the ACC, Atlantic Coast Conference, the best conference in America against the best players in America, was just another chance to push myself and to show myself where I could go. Show my weaknesses in my game and where I needed to build on. American players are athletes before they're soccer players. And that's probably my weaker part of my game. I was tactically, technically more dominant. I needed to work on my physicality, and I felt that America was the best fit for me to push me in that direction, and it's exactly what it did. It was such a challenge. I'd always tell girls, I've spoken to a couple of girls who are going to America, and I kind of wanted to emphasize it's not a dream situation. It's not going to be all rainbows and butterflies. It's not always going to be cheerful. It's going to be hard work, and you're going to get pushed, and you're going to feel homesick. But at the end of the day, you're going to come out with a degree, and you're going to come out a stronger, more mature person who has had a brilliant experience, and hopefully, that's the case. But the hard work will be worth it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I spent some time in America coaching. Yeah. The enormity of it, of sport itself.
Yes.
Of course, everyone's known about women's soccer being bigger there. You said about needing to be an athlete before you're a soccer player. So what were the differences in terms of the demands in training, demands outside of the game? Was there a difference?
The thing that struck me was, first of all, that all the girls on my team had been doing S&C and like fitness-based work and other sports since they started playing football. They started S&C right at the beginning, and they continued that. And they also played a second sport up until they went to college, pretty much. And so when we would do the way that the sessions were set up was that there was a clear fitness and strength component, and then there was a clear football component. It wasn't that sort of, okay, right, we'll have balls and we'll dribble around the square or whatever. It was, get rid of the balls, we're going to run around a track, that sort of thing. So for me, that was the major difference. I don't think I ever did I had a gym program, but I never did upper body. I never did, press ups and that sort of thing. It was all like leg dominant. And obviously, strength programs have come a long way in this country in the last 4 or 5 years. But America are streets ahead on that sort of thing. So, yep, for sure, they are athletes, and the game showed that. it doesn't matter if I could play a nice small game and play a ball around. I just get bodied off the ball, or someone would just sprint past me to a ball. If I can't get the ball, I can't do what I need to do. So from the get-go, I was playing catch up on that, and that was so good for me, because that's where I placed my efforts, and that's where my coaches helped me improve the most.
It's really interesting how you've kind of, as you hit on your experiences there, you've touched on your technical ability after it. You wouldn't have reached the levels you did without it. Your tactical understanding, you wouldn't again reach the level. But then to need the physicality, the psychological attributes, and you need to be socially, of course, ready, because these are tough situations,
Definitely.
socially and psychologically.
Yeah.
So again, that really shows how you do need to be that whole person to progress
For sure.
down any given professional route. Is there kind of one strong message that you would give? You obviously said you spoke to a few maybe going on to college next year. Is there kind of one strong message you would give to a striving young female player who perhaps wants to play in America or wants to play for Arsenal or England? Is there kind of a strong message?
I think you hit on a really good point there, that it is not just, you can come out onto a field like this and you can kick a ball around and you can go through ladders, and that is a great starting point, and that needs to continue no matter what you do. But how many hours a night are you sleeping? How many litres of water are you drinking? What's your nutrition? What are your weak points psychologically? For me, I used to get super emotional in games, and I spent the year working up to the Under-20 World Cup, picking away at strategies that would help me keep my calm, keep my cool in tough situations, and that I knew that I was going to face in the World Cup. So where are you psychologically? Where are you fitness based, and where do you want to go? So even though I'd love to say that there was one thing that you could really work on that would guarantee you, a route to the top or a route to wherever you want to go, whether it be America or a league here or whatever, there are so many aspects to being a footballer that, because football is, life is bigger than football is, and so you need to, and you as a person are bigger than football. You are more complex than football is, so you need to work on every single aspect and have a look at that, because it's the 1%. And I know many people have said that before, but it really is those different aspects. The player sitting next to you doesn't sleep 8 hours a night, doesn't do their nutrition. You're going to have that edge on them, and at the end of the day, if you can build that edge, and if you can build all those aspects to give yourself an advantage, then who knows where you'll end up.
Really, really strong message. Thank you for giving me the time to go through, I think, some great messages for people to take.
Thank you.
Hopefully, like I said, these messages are heard, and
Yeah.
who knows, hopefully we can have a few more local female players
Sounds
go on
amazing.
and strive to play for him.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.